Hello and welcome to video number 3, in which you're going to receive some full text tips and tricks. So we're going to start off where we left off. Basically, as long as you have an article title, this will work for any search, right? So let's just say we are in this little article result here, and on the left side it usually provides, information about whether or not it has access through this particular database, right? So if we do full text finder as a starting point, usually it will be able to provide a link to you for you. So find this article from Wiley. So let's click on that. And we are in fact going to have access to this thing. So in this case, you can stop here and download this PDF, save this page, whatever you want to do, save it to Zotero, which will be demonstrated in the next video. But if you didn't have access right through this, the next step would be to take this journal or this article title and go back to our home page over here and put it in the article search. And the reason we do that is because we purchase access to different journals, again, as I said before, in bulk. So sometimes we'll have overlapping accesses, and sometimes, the search engines being so far removed will get confused on what we do have access to and what we don't have access to. So in this case, it's only the one access point again, so clicking back through the full text finder will bring us to the same place. So this is just a sort of quick check to make sure that there aren't duplicates, right? So for example, this one here has two different accesses, so this might be confused basically between different access points. So if this didn't work, the next thing we would do is take the journal title, Global Ecology and Biogeography, and go back to our home page again. But this time, instead of doing these first three searches, we're going to take it over to journal titles. And so if there is any question, basically, about access, you can go here to find the sort of source, right? The sources of information. So if we click on full text access here, we'll see, hey, we've got access through JSTOR and Wiley. If you recall, the full text finder only pulled the Wiley one, and that might be just because it's a little bit outdated, or it might be that it's very clever and realized that, this JSTOR access is the present minus the last 6 years. This is what we call an embargo, and is pretty, commonly found on different publications, right, depending on how we access them. But one thing I wanted to show you is if we looked instead for Nature, a big one, we're going to see that we have tons of different accesses, right? So Nature is one of those publications that you might have to look through a few different access points for an article for, because as you can see, most of these have a full text delay of at least a year. Some of these ended access in 2015, but the really, only one that's the most complete is Nature Journals Online itself. So going directly through this should give you the most recent results and have the best sort of effect there. So the reason why we have all these accesses anyway is because we don't pick and choose journals individually, right? It's just bundled together, kind of like a cable bundle, if you're old enough to get that reference. You don't choose individual channels, right? You get whatever the package includes. And the same thing goes for databases and journal titles. So all of these other sources bought access to Nature and included it in a package deal with thousands of other journal titles. So to get the journals that we wanted, we have to overpay in some cases to get overlapping access to certain journals, right? That's just the way academic publishing works. So if you were to go through and click through this link, you could manually go and search for your journal article. And if this didn't work, if, we for some reason didn't have access through here, the next step would be to sort of broaden it out even more. So if we were to go to Google Scholar, which is just scholar.google.com, or just search Scholar. I'm going to paste, now I want my journal article title, not the journal. We're going to get a singular result here. Pretty good. So here you can actually click into this link or click the PDF. In some cases this PDF link will work, in some cases it doesn't. It's all kind of hit or miss. Basically, if this didn't work as well, I would then take it further out to a even more just general basic Google search. And the reason why we would do that is because sometimes the authors get fed up with going through all these hoops and publication prices, paywalls. You know, when you see an article that says, hey, pay $20 to see me, don't ever pay that. A lot of times the authors themselves will just put it up online. You can just download the full text from something like ResearchGate. But basically the next step, if none of these things work, is to email me the citation, and I will do my best to find it for you. The last thing that you would ever want to do is pay for something. And I don't recommend that you do that ever, because theoretically all of this research support and assistance is sort of built into your tuition, right? It pays for me to go and find this for you. And as a librarian, I have secret access to backdoor channels that you don't always have access to. So it's not cheating or anything else. You know, I do this for faculty all the time. And you can just send me things that, you know, you've exhausted all your other options, you can't find it anywhere, you're starting to wonder if someone's playing a prank on you and if this exists at all. Just send it to me and I will go and dig it up for you. So those are some tips and tricks for finding full text access to things. The other thing about Google Scholar that I forgot to mention is that it is a nice tool to use for finding what came after something. So let's say cheatgrass biome, and when you see a link basically or citation, you can see cited by. So this number itself doesn't actually, you know, mean very much. Whether something's cited by one person or by 3,000 people, you know, doesn't necessarily indicate the quality of that article. Something that's cited 3,000 times might be cited 3,000 times because it was an example of something that you should never do, right? Something that people have gone out of their way to disclaim every single time something's published in the same vein, right? That's part of just scientific sort of academic publishing and sort of the field of research, right? But if you were to click on this cited by button, it gives you every single citation. So you can go and look through some of these if you're not sure yet how to evaluate research for yourself, right? And some of them might just mention, you know, a citation in passing, but if it is particularly good or particularly bad, then it should be cited multiple times and, you know, have some elaboration on that point, right? So just a little handy thing for you to help find more research in the same area, right? In addition to looking at the journals themselves and the authors, you can use cited by to find linked citations. So, but of course bear in mind that, you know, the date will affect this. Things that are published in 1950 have to be cited more than things that were published in 2018 because there just hasn't been enough time, right, for people to publish anything about it. The other thing is that when you do have very few citations, sometimes it's just that Google doesn't necessarily know about the ones that have been published, right? This is only what Google Scholar knows about. So, a couple of disclaimers, but it is a very good tool to use to broaden your research. So, I hope that was helpful, and we're going to talk about Zotero in the next video, so I will see you there.